coming up next.
Worst loss of the season, probably even of the young Adam Fisher career. That was horrible. That team came out and on the defensive side of the ball just did not do anything well.
Adam Fisher and Kyle Neptune give a hug at half court, and that does it. Villanova takes down Temple in the Big Five Classic third place game. Your final 94-65.
We're making the transition from football. It's over with. We're done. Although I am going to have something on that soon. But we're on to hoops. And Temple men's basketball. A lot of new faces. A lot of familiar faces. That's how things go in the new college world. And on Saturday afternoon, late afternoon, in the Big Five Classic, you just heard it, a whooping. Worst loss of the season, probably even of the young Adam Fisher career. That was horrible. That team came out and on the defensive side of the ball just did not do anything well, particularly guarding the three-point ball, which is something that they haven't been bad at this season particularly, but they just could not get any good stops, and it seemed like every time, right at the wrong time, was when Villanova would hit the shots. The second you thought Temple would kind of creep in, Villanova, especially to start halftime, with 3 straight three-point makes, 2 of them by Dixon, and he kind of wasn't even doing his thing per se, but he was. Second leading scorer in the nation, put up, I believe, 24 on Temple, and you kind of knew that he was going to get to his spot a good 15 seconds into the game when he hits a little skyhook shot for the deuce for 2 points. And you were like, and the streamers start throwing it all into the court at Wells Fargo Center in the Big Five Classic, and you kind of knew that he was going to have his way, and boy, did he. And Eric Dixon, I mean, the way that he has developed his game from high school, he grew up in Pennsylvania, went to Abington, and he just developed really that shot because he always had the length, he always had the body and the muscle, but he was always a physical specimen. And now he's able to shoot the ball. He can freaking shoot. And when he's shooting at a clip like this, he's top 10 in the nation in three-point field goal percentage for players that qualify. What he can do is scary. Because I don't know a lot of big men that can shoot at a consistent level. There's not too many comparisons that you can see it at that's going to be a physical force down low as well. But still no excuse for Temple defensively. And we're going to get into the logistics of the game and whether or not this was the worst loss in the Adam Fisher era, which I think it was. Because you look at it, look at the box score. I mean, 29-point loss. It was probably over a few minutes into halftime is really when you just saw a little bit of quit in the team, right? No intensity that was being showed outside of one player that I'll mention later. But there was really no intensity being shown by the guys on the floor. I mean, Villanova and Temple both were getting a bunch of offensive rebounds, 11 for Nova, 12 for the Owls. But when you look at some of the guys that were making shots for Nova are guys that aren't always on, especially the same night. And that's what really killed Temple. That's why the Wildcats were able to put up 94 points. Because they had 4 guys that were in double figures in the points column. Right? You had Dixon doing his thing with 24. Then Poplar, the Miami transfer, and he's really good too. He's going to be something really special for Kyle Neptune and his squad, right? He was on that Miami squad that went to the Final Four back in 2023. He poured in 18. You had Longino, who also had 14. And then off the bench, Tyler Perkins made 4 threes, 4 of 5 from beyond the arc. He was also getting those open looks that we talked about that Temple was just getting. They couldn't guard the three ball for whatever reason. And Villanova didn't even have to dominate in the paint. That's why Dixon was shooting it from beyond the arc. He had 12 shots from the field. 8 of them were from downtown, and he made 5 of those threes. So when he's getting his way, along with the rest of Villanova, because Temple themselves made 20 shots from the floor. Now, I'm going to give you a second, right? Temple made 20 shots from the floor. Villanova outscored them by 29 points. How many three-point attempts do you think Nova made? I'll give you like 3 seconds for you to think about it. And now that you have your answer, lock it in. The answer is 19. So Temple made one more field goal from 2-point range and from 3-point range than Villanova did just from downtown. Yo, you can come in. I mean, that's stuff that just cannot happen. When teams are making that many three-point attempts against you, you can't do it. You're not going to win basketball games like that. I know it's one game. Don't overreact. Don't want to overreact too much to it. But it wasn't a good showing, especially on that floor inside of the Wells Fargo Center in South Philly, where a bunch of Philadelphia basketball lovers are there. You want to put on a show for your team. Didn't even want to play in that game to begin with. I get it, because you wanted to play a couple hours after in the championship where you lost last year. But I will say one thing, and I know Temple didn't have really offensively, really their 2 main ball handlers, with Lynn Greer out for suspension, and Quante Berry, we learned, I guess, right at pregame warmups that he wasn't going to be able to go because of his hand. Adam Fisher said after the game that he was suffering from his right hand injury that he suffered in practice. So we'll see if he's good to go for on Tuesday, back at home for the first time in over a month. So that's going to be good for Temple, but I get it. They didn't have their 2 main ball handlers. You know who they did have? That freshman, man. That freshman, and he hasn't been getting a lot of run. Man, did he earn it. Aiden Tobiasen. And don't look at the stat sheets and what he did, because you're not going to get the full picture of it. This guy was balling out. I talk about Temple kind of quitting. He's the one guy that did not quit. He was hustling on the floor, fighting for offensive rebounds, fighting to get on the floor for loose balls. He had one offensive rebound, another one on the defensive end. But for Aiden Tobiasen to kind of put on that display in that game against Villanova, a bunch of top recruits, right? Villanova never really sent their bench out either. So Tobiasen's going up, getting steals against Eric Dixon, one of the best players in the country. Elijah Gray was also kind of helping him out there too. So I really took away, my biggest takeaway from that game is, of course, just what Aiden Tobiasen saw. I think Temple fans should expect to see more of him as the season continues to go on, because he really, really showed that he's going to be a hustle player. And you got to love that. I know Adam Fisher loves that too. He's going to want him to shoot the ball a little bit as well. See if he can kind of get that going for Aiden Tobiasen and Temple, because they'll be back home first time in over. Like, that's got to suck. Be away on the road or just playing games outside of the Liacouras Center for over a month. That's stuff that is definitely not fun, but they'll be back. D2 squad back in action for Temple. I don't know why they always kind of set up these games against these Division II opponents, but they do. And we'll see how it works out for them. And I don't know, coming into the season, I said, when you look at Temple's non-conference, I'm not going to take away any positives from it. You're only going to take away negatives, and the negatives are starting to pile up. And we'll see what happens when Lynn Greer comes back. I believe the game on Tuesday will be the 9th game. Yeah, so it will be the 9th game. So after Tuesday, we'll go to Hofstra on the 15th, and Lynn Greer will make his Temple debut in that one. And I think we'll really see how the Owls can fully develop, especially on that offensive end, where they've kind of struggled a bunch this year. Haven't been particularly bad at shooting, much better than last year. I think we're just not seeing enough adjustments too out of that coaching staff, because it's been a problem really last year too with Adam Fisher, where they just, whenever they trail at half, they lose. Whenever they kind of lead at half, they win. So there's really not a lot of adjustments being made by the staff, at least just based off of those numbers, to do enough to claw back into games. Like, on the call, I was calling the game for WHIP radio, and I was saying what Temple has to do is kind of chip into the lead, right? All right, you're down 20, get it to 15, get it to 10. They never got it back to 15 after the 15-minute mark. It was all Villanova even after then. They kind of just put their foot on the ground. You can't have that happen. And I don't even think one guy's going to be able to stop or prevent that from happening when Lynn Greer comes back, or Quante Berry, even when he returns from his injury, which still remains to be determined. But it's definitely something to kind of look out for. Can this coaching staff make adjustments when they're trailing at halftime? And hopefully they're not trailing at halftime in their next matchup against Holy Family, back in action on Tuesday. Also, another note for the show, we are going to be speaking to Casey Keeler, the new football coach here at Temple. So make sure to tune into that. I'll have some more updates for you guys on social media and all the other platforms that we kind of use here. And that's going to wrap things up for this episode. Another good one. Yes, I'm rocking my Mets shirt. So, Juan Soto, welcome. Well, I guess not welcome to New York, but welcome to the good side of town. But Temple Hoops is what we'll be talking about from here on out. Get some women involved with it as well. They're the Big Five champions. So, they might be the team that everyone wants to talk about. We'll see as we kind of dive into the end of non-conference play here. But for myself, Hayden Mandel, thank you guys for watching. And let's see how Adam Fisher and the Temple Owls can improve as they face Holy Family on Tuesday. I'll be on the call for that one as well. So we'll have you updated on all our social media platforms, and we'll see you next time.